What's going on, everyone? Scott here with In Fitness and in Health. And today we're going to talk about something very important, something fundamental to everyone's fitness journey, and that is how to start. One of the most frequent questions I get is, how do I start an exercise program? Where do I start? What resources should I use to build a program? What resources should I use to build a nutrition plan? These types of overarching questions that are ultimately very important for setting the stage to a solid workout program. The good news is it's a relatively straightforward answer. And in a nutshell, where you need to get started is by doing something. It doesn't really matter what it is. So, for example, I was just speaking with someone recently who is quite overweight, doesn't feel very good about their body, doesn't want to be seen in public, doesn't want to go to the gym, doesn't really want to kind of be out and about, which we all have, I think, times in our lives where we feel like we just want to kind of shut ourselves in and put our heads down, but we really need to make sure that we're taking care of our health, not just for ourselves, but for those who care about us long term. And so, when it comes to a situation like that, starting somewhere is the best thing you can do. So, for example, for this particular individual, we started walking 3 times a week for 20 minutes. Luckily for me, this person lives in the Chicagoland area with me. And so we were able to meet up and go for these walks together. And the nice part was you really can start to build quite quickly, even if you're not sure kind of where you're headed or what you want to do. Just starting somewhere, getting yourself out the door is a great first step, just to get some movement. And so that's the first piece of advice I have is just do something, whether it's a walk, whether it's a bike ride, something that you can do to get the blood moving is going to help tremendously, as far as kickstarting what should and hopefully amounts to a lifelong fitness journey. Secondarily, another question I get all the time that kind of coincides with, well, how do I get started, is what information can I trust? There seems to be so much stuff out there, so much fitness advice, health advice, food advice. How do I know what to trust? And I will agree with you, it's quite overwhelming. Just in my day-to-day research, as someone who's been doing fitness for nearly 20 years, it can be quite overwhelming, mind numbing, and you just oftentimes leave yourself more confused than when you started. So, the second thing I would say is when you're getting started, trust your gut. You're a smart person. You've lived on on this earth for a long enough time. You probably can smell BS when you see it. So trust your instinct. If something that you see online or a piece of information that a friend gives you, if that just doesn't pass the sniff test, then it probably is shit, for lack of a better word. So make sure that when you're looking at online articles or stories or talking to people, that if something doesn't sound right, if something doesn't feel right, then it probably isn't right. So trust your gut when you're looking at any sort of information as it pertains to fitness. And then, as far as kind of the third piece of advice I have for getting started is, if possible, have a buddy. Everything is easier with a friend, whether it's, having dinner, going for a walk, or, doing really anything, working on a group project, obviously. It's a little easier to get started, and it's a little easier to stay motivated and stay accountable, most importantly, when you have someone else that's counting on you. I can remember a time back in 2015 when I was looking to take my fitness in a new direction, and it was in an area that I just wasn't super interested in, but understood that I needed to spend a little bit more time doing these types of exercises. And so I called up a friend, someone I knew who was very involved in this type of working out, this type of fitness. And we put together a little schedule, and we ended up training together for almost a year and a half. And as a result, my motivation was pretty high. My results were pretty good. And it all started because I was willing to ask for help. I was willing to take that journey, take that plunge with somebody else, and simply do what needed to be done. And so that ultimately was one of the reasons why I'm so successful today. Is it just took years and years and years of working with someone else in a partnership capacity for me to build up that motivation, that knowledge base, that accountability. It's not something that happens overnight. It's ultimately a lot easier with a friend. So to recap, three things that we can work on in order to make getting started a little bit easier. Number one, just start doing something. Again, it could be a walk, it could be a bike ride, it could be dusting off 20-year-old weights that you found in your basement during the pandemic. Whatever it is, just start moving, get your heart rate up a little bit, and go from there. Number two is to be very wary of information that you find anywhere, not just the internet. The internet, of course, but friends and family, oftentimes they have good intentions, but they don't have they don't have necessarily the best advice or the truest or most accurate advice. So if something doesn't sound right, something doesn't feel right, don't discount that. Think to yourself, well, this doesn't seem right for X, Y, and Z, and then go the extra mile and say, okay, this is actually incorrect because I was able to verify this or not verify that. If it doesn't pass the sniff test, it's probably BS. And then the third thing, of course, is working out with a friend. It just makes everything easier. It's like playing games or anything else. It's just a lot more fun and a lot more engaging when you're working with another individual. So, this has been Scott with In Fitness and in Health. If you haven't subscribed to my newsletter over on Substack, we have 9,000 subscribers. These are folks who have taken a very active interest in their fitness, and there's a vibrant message board over there. There's a great community of folks who are motivated to thinking, feeling, and just doing better in their lives. So I would encourage you to join us. Newsletters come out 3 times per week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I would invite you to just come check us out, see what it's all about. Until next time, have a good day.